Welcome to this video tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to dive into arrays and slices in Go with a special focus on for loops, one of the most powerful tools for working with these data structures. In Go, an array is a fixed size collection of elements of the same type. Yes, a fixed size collection of elements of the same type. Example, declaring an array of integers. So let's see how it works. Let's declare a function main, and inside it let's initiate a variable numbers, and in initiating an array we introduce this bracket, and inside the bracket we will specify the number of values that this array holds. So if there are 5 values, we input it into the bracket 5, and we will then specify the data type of those content of this array. So if they are all integers, we just add int at the end of it, and if we print this on the console, let's see what we get. Because we did not give specific values for this array, we just initiated it that it is a collection of 5 items, and those items are all integers. So if we are supposed to run it on the console, we will just see 0, 0, 0, 0. Exactly, that is what we see here. So by default, Go initializes arrays with 0 values. So 0 for integer. If we say that they are all integers, we get 0. If we say that they are all string, then we get empty, no, nothing. And if they are boolean too, we get false. That is the basis of arrays. So we can initialize an array with values. So let's look at that one. So if we are initializing the numbers with specific values, we will just introduce a curly braces at the end, and we will just insert the values for those numbers. So let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now, because we said that this array contains 5 items or 5 objects, so inside it we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, exactly 5 like that. And if we print it out, we have the same thing, and it will just declare the content of the values. So now we see 10, 20, 40, 50. So that is that. So we can also at the same time use dot dot to let Go determine the array size automatically. So instead of us determining or declaring that this array contains 5 items, instead of the 5, we can do 3 dots inside the brackets over here, and this tells Go that Go should dynamically or automatically detect the size of this array, and it also works in that way. And remember, the size of an array cannot change after it is declared, so you have to take notice. So the size cannot change after it is declared. Good. Now let's look at slices in Go. Slices in Go. Now arrays are useful, but they are fixed, as we can see. So we declare it, and we specify the size of it. So arrays are fixed size. If we need a dynamic collection, we use slices. A slice is more flexible data structure built on top of an array. So let's see how we can declare a slice. Good. So let's say that we have a variable called numbers. So in initializing or declaring a slice, we just bring our brackets, and we will just add the data type of the content of the slice. So this is a slice of integers of no size element. Because we did not specify the size of this content, this array, it makes it a slice, meaning that it is now flexible and we can use it anywhere in our code. We can modify it and all that. So if we print this on the console, okay, so let's run it and see. Exactly. So you see it over here. We get an empty content for this slice. So this is a slice because we've not specified the size for it, which makes it more flexible. So the main difference between an array and a slice is slices are more flexible, but arrays are fixed. Arrays are fixed. Now let's look at initializing a slice, and let's give it some content and proceed from there to see how it actually works. So let's initialize this slice and say they are all integers, and in our curly braces we will give it values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so now if we print this, we will get the content of it. And unlike arrays, slices do not have a fixed size. So we can actually append to it, we can actually modify the content of this variable numbers, which is a slice. So let's look at how to modify the content. Now, good, so now let's see how that works. So if we are modifying or we are adding to this collection of items in this slice, we just do numbers equal to, then we use the append method, append, then we call the slice that we are appending numbers, then we add. What are we adding to it, or how are we modifying it? So append means that we are adding to it. So let's say we are adding 60 to the collection. Now if we run our program, we see it over here. Good. Now you see 60 is added to the collection. So this is a slice because we can actually modify it. It is more flexible. We can append to it. We can take from it and all that. Good. Now let's look at how to create a slice from a given array. So let's say we have an array. We want to create a slice out from it. Let's see how that one also works. So let's say that this is our array, and we say that it has 5 items and they are all integers, and this is the content of them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is the array that we have initialized and declared. So we are going to create a slice out of it. So let's say that we have our slice variable, and we declare it like this. So we take it from the array that we have declared. So ARR was the name of our array that we declared, and inside the brackets we will do, let's say, 1 colon 4. So this means that 1 means that from index 1 to 3 excluding 4. So now this is how it works. So index 1 means that in this given array, the first value over here has an index of 0. So it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means that we are starting from 1 and we are going all the way to 3, excluding 4. Now let's look at how that one works. It's not confusing. Let's declare it. Let's print it on the console to see and understand it better. Now if we print it on the console, now we see it over here. If we print the slice on the console, we get 2, 3, and 4. Now this is it. So it actually starts from index 1. I told you it starts from index 0. So the one over here has an index of 0, and the 2 here, the index for the 2 is 1, and the index for the 3 is 2. So if we are saying that the slice has is coming from the array, but it's starting from the index 1. It means that it excludes the 1 over here in the array, because the 1 over here has an index of 0. And over here we have declared that the slice is coming from the array, and it starts from the index 1 to index 4. So meaning that if we count it, this is 0, the 2 is 1, so it starts from the 2. That's how come we see 2 over here. Then the 3 is rather 2, we have it. Then the 4 over here is rather 4, 3 index, that's the third index. Then we have it over here. Then the fourth index, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth one is excluded. So as we see it over here, so from 1 to 4, we start from 1, which is the 2, 3, then 4. The fourth index over here is always excluded from it, so which is the 5. So we have only 2, 3, 4. We will look at more of it in depth and we understand it better. Now let's look at using for loops with arrays and slices. The most common way to loop through arrays and slices. Let's look at how that one works. So we have an array here which are a collection of integers, and in our function we are going to introduce a loop which is going to loop through it. Let's look at how it works. So we have our for loop and we initialize I to be equal to 0, and in our condition we say that for I less than the length. Okay, so we use this an inbuilt go method. So length, which is length of the numbers, the nums array that we have declared. Then you then write our post. What do we want it to do? We want it to be increasing. So I plus plus. Then inside it we will just print. Okay, let's bring our print over here to make it more. So we'll just print already declared our variable nums, which is an array of 5 items, and they are all integers. And we have our for loop over here initializing I to be equal to 0, and if I is less than the length of the numbers, so the length is actually the number of them. Okay, so and you keep increasing it. So let's see. So the I over here will print the value of the I as long as it is less than the length of the numbers over here, and we will give the value. So the nums, the specific value for that item. Let's print it on the console to see how good. Now we see it over here. So starting from 0, as we initialize our I to be, so the I is equal to 0. So starting from 0, what is the value for it? As when it is less than the length of the numbers of that we have declared here. So for I to be 0, when we go into the array, we look at the first value for the array. What index is it? The index is 0. The first item has an index 0. And for I, which is 0, you look at the index 0 and we print it. So the index is 0. The value is 10 because the 10 has an index of 0. And it's continuous like that. So it goes to the next one. So for I to be equal to 1, the value is 20. And it continues till it gets to the same side, because we said that for I, if it is less than the length of the numbers that we have declared over here. So the length is actually the length of it. So each one is an index starting from 0, and it continues like that, and it will print it off for us. So as we have seen here, so the index will print out the index, the value will print out the index for that specific value in the array that we have declared. As simple as that. Now let's look at for loops using range. which is actually preferred for iteration. Now, instead of using learn method, Go provides the range keyword for us to use. Now, let's look at how that one works. For index, so this is our initialization. We are initializing index and value, and they are from this range of the numbers, the nums that array that we have declared above it. So nums, and inside it we will print and say that the index is index and the value is value. Now, why use range at all? Now, range is more readable than a traditional loop, and it automatically provides both index and value at the same time for us. So we don't have to do them separately. And it also avoids potential off by one error. So let's look at that and print it on the console to see. Good. Now you see it over here. It gives us the same thing as well. And you see, we didn't write many code compared to the previous one. Just a single line. We initialize the index and the value for that range of this variable that we have declared to be an array. Then it will automatically go into it and give us the index and the value at the same time. And if you don't need the index, you need only the value, you just ignore the index and you replace it with underscore. So in this case, it will only print the values, not, and it will exclude the index. So let's look at that one. Good, you see it over here. It gets us only the values. So introducing the underscore over here tells Go that it should ignore the index and give us only the values for the content of the arrays that is we have declared over here. Now let's iterate over an array using a loop, and in this case we are going to look at an array that consists of strings, and let's see how that one also works. So let's say that our the name of our array is called ARR, and let's declare it to be an array that has 3 items inside and they are all string. So we write string, then we just go ahead and input the values for that array. So let's say go. So don't forget, for strings, every string is in the quotation. So go, then Python, then let's say Java. Good. Now let's iterate over it and see how that one also works. So let's initialize our I to be 0, and let's give our condition that for I less than the length of the array, as long as I is less than the length of the array that we have declared, we should continue printing the value for I. We should keep increasing it and print it. So I plus plus, and inside our loop we will print it, and we will say programming language and we declare our array, and we say that it should bring the index of the value of I that we will print. So the value of the I will be the index for the array. So don't forget, in our array over here, the go here has the index of 0, then the Python over here has the index of 1, and the Java here has the index of 3. So it will loop through it and see that for I equal to 0, it should keep increasing and print all the values in the array. So first, the value for the I is 0, and we are printing the index using the I as a value. So an array having an index of 0, which is the one that we have declared here, an array having an index of 0, we should print it out. So the first value is 0. So it will go into the array. Then you look at the first item, which has an array index of 0, which is Go. So it will give us programming language Go. Then it will now go on to the second one because we are increasing it. Then the next value will be 2, will be 1. So the first one is 0, so the next value will be 1. So the index 1 is Python. Then it will print it out. Then it will go again for the second one, for the third one, which is I is equal to 2. Then it will look at it, which value in the array has an index of 2, which is Java, and we print it. Let's look at it. Exactly. So now you see it over here. So programming language Go, programming language Python, programming language Java. It's as simple as that. You see that. So in the same way too, we can also use range instead of using the initialization and using our condition over here. We can use range. So let's use range in it for us to see how it works. So we will say for we will ignore printing the index. So let's say underscore. So we concentrate on the value, then we do range. So we have initialized a variable called lang, and that variable is range from the array. So range array. So meaning that the variable that we have declared here is ranging from taking it from the array ARR that we have declared over here, and we are going to print the value over here, and let's look at how that one also works for you to understand it. So let's print it out and see. So we see it gives us the same output as well. So range makes it more flexible and easier, and it is easily readable as well. Good. Now let's look at using for loops to modify slice elements. So we are going to use a for loop to modify the content of a slice, the elements in the slice. Let's look at how that one works. So let's declare our variable nums, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we go ahead to declare our for loop, and we say that for I, a range of the nums that we have declared, which is a slice, and inside the loop we will tell our program that it should get the nums which has an index of I, and it should multiply each element. So we use our operator asterisk. It should multiply each element in the slice by 2 and output it. You see that? So for I in the range of the nums, we are telling our program that it should multiply every value in the slice by 2. So it will just take the I, which is the index, it will be the index for the nums, and it will multiply it by 2, and it will continue till it finishes. Good. Now let's print it on the console to see how that works at the end of the loop. Good. So we'll bring in our nums. As simple as that. So you print all the nums. So it will multiply and it will just save it. It will multiply and it will just save it for all the items in the nums slice. Let's print it on the console. Now we see it over here. Perfect. So it starts with the first one, I, which is the 1 over here. So it will multiply the 1 by the 2, which is 2. Then it will go on again. It will iterate through all the elements in the slice. So it will take the 2 and multiply by the 2, we get 4. It will take the 3, multiply by the 2 over here, we get 6. Till it finishes through all the elements in the slice. So this is how we can also use the for loop to modify the element in a slice. Now let's look at slices and memory, how they work. So let's declare our array to be, let's call it array, AR, and then we introduce our slice, we declare our slice and give it, okay, let me space it out for us to see the readability. Good. Now as we have declared our slice, then after that we will say the slice which has an index of 0, which in our case will be the 2, because it is starting from index 1, which is the 2. Are you getting it over here? So this actually, let me comment this for us to understand. So actually the content of the slice will be as we saw it earlier. So it will be starting from the index 1 of the array, which is 2. So it starts from 2, then it continues to 3, then it continues to the value here 4, then it will leave the fifth one, which has the index of 4 over here, 0 1 2 3 4. It will leave it out. So with this will be the value for the slice, and we are going to change the value for the index 0. So in the slice, index 0 is 2. In the slice, the index 0 is 2, and we are going to change it, and it should affect the original array that we have here. So now let's look at it. So the index 0, we are saying that it is now 100. Let's give it 100. And now let's print our original array to see its current state right now. Let's print on the console. Now we see it over here. So 100, 3, 4, 5. Now we see we have altered the value for the second value in the array. Good. If this video helped you, hit the like button and subscribe for more Go tutorials. Let me know in the comments if you have any question. Thank you. See you in the next video.